What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel and another episode of SVP Photo Projects. This is going to be our second live photo edit. I guess it's not really live. And we're going to try and do things a little bit differently this week. Last week I woke up and said, hey, we just got to jump off. Let's just get to it. So it was very rough. So we're going to make some modifications from that video. There was a lot of coffee slurping, a lot of vaping, and a lot of coughing. So I want to try and remove some of that and just put together a better overall product and presentation for the internet. So I'm assuming that nobody watched it because I didn't promote it. I didn't share it on any of my social media sites. I'm trying to just get a backlog of content uploaded, so it will be ready and more prepared. So without further ado, let's jump right into this bad boy. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel and another episode of SVP Photo Projects. This is going to be our second live photo edit. I guess it's not really live. And we're going to try and do things a little bit differently this week. Last week I woke up and said, hey, we just got to jump off. Let's just get to it. So it was very rough. So we're going to make some modifications from that video. There was a lot of coffee slurping, a lot of vaping, and a lot of coughing. So I want to try and remove some of that and just put together a better overall product and presentation for the internet. So I'm assuming that nobody watched it because I didn't promote it, I didn't share it on any of my social media sites. I'm trying to just get a backlog of content uploaded, so it will be ready and more prepared. So without further ado, let's jump right into this bad boy. All right. Now, these images were taken yesterday, July 10th, and I've got my external selected. I've got these two photos ready to go. Let's go ahead and import them. And there's that damn coughing again. Alright, so we got these uploaded. See here, they're in my previous imports. Let's go into the develop module. And this is what we're working with from yesterday. Did a little bit of work with some motion blur along the Shepaug River here in Litchfield County, Connecticut. So these are the two images. I'm not sure what I want to start with. I think we're going to utilize this image today as our test. Alright, so you can see exposure's pretty good from the get-go. The clipping tools are indicating we're not really losing anything in the highlights. There aren't too many highlights, not a lot of metadata there. But we are losing a little bit right down here. You can see that's in the blacks portion. Shadows, exposure, highlights, and whites. So that you're curious about the histogram's composition running left to right in that order. So you can see right here, the blacks are what we're losing a little bit of detail on. So I'm going to go through that same method that I did last week. CCF, correct color finish. And the first step I like to take with that again is remove chromatic aberration and enable profile correction. So that didn't really have too much of an impact on the image, but still important to do. Let's come back up to the top. We're going to go here, crop overlay, take a look at our lines. So for this motion blur, I was shooting, I think, like f16 for either 1 second or 1.3 seconds. and I was using a pistol grip tripod, so looks like I got lucky. I was able to keep those lines straight. It looks pretty good. Alright, we're going to go right into the coloring portion. I guess, you know, within the basic tab, you know, that's where white balance and your exposure compensations are going to be. I guess that's partly correction in addition to color. It's like a carryover tab. So I like to just go through, we're just going to cycle through the white balance. So that's auto compared to as shot. That's actually only a change of 200. Excuse me. Daylight's probably going to make it pretty trippy. Yeah. That doesn't really look good. I don't like that water. It's kind of cool. Kind of added a nice gray tone to it. Makes it a little dark, a little somber, cloudy. Right in our range. Shade. Zoom in a little. Go before and after. And again, Lightroom shortcuts. That is Y to show you your before and your after image. So before obviously will be whatever you imported. After is going to be your current edit, whatever you're working on. After will show you. So super handy tools. You can do a nice side by side. Now we can go through kind of cycle. So again, you can see that white balance through the camera and Lightroom's auto. It's a difference of 200 kelvins. You can't really notice that. If we go to daylight, the more I look at that, I do kind of like it. I like that contrast in the water. It's 5,500. Let's just do some manual adjustments. Adding some of those warm tones in. Too warm. Let's see what, if we drop it down below 55. See, that's when kind of getting that synthetic artificial feel. Not a fan. Like it. Now for exposure. So that's one full stop. That's 1.06. And you can see that removed a lot of this blue in here. So we recovered a lot of data that was lost from that original image. Might be a little too much though. Let's see it at 0.75. I think we're going to go that one full stop for right now. Alright, so I like to work directly with highlights and whites together. You can see if we crank that all the way up to 100, we're going to get some loss. Right in here, that red. Let's crank that down to 50. Again, with whites, crank that up, you're going to see you're going to lose a lot. Just drop that down just a little. Now we'll work on the shadows to try and brighten this image up a little. You can see as you're increasing those blacks and shadows, you get movement in the histogram going left to right, so you're starting to recover some data from the whites and the highlights. Turn that overlay off. So that's looking pretty good. It's popping. There's a lot of definition in there. Good flow of that water. The image is still bright. My focal point when I was shooting this was this tree right here. It's kind of keeping everything centered in my opinion. It looks good. It's not a faraway landscape, so the hyperfocal range is kind of out of play in this, but I'm satisfied with the overall appearance of this as far as its focus characteristics. Everything looks to be in focus, so that's good. And again, with that histogram, you can see we're kind of gaining a little bit, coming back to the right side. It's pretty much void here for highlights and whites. I think that's just because it was so overcast and we're in the forest. So let's take a look at adding a little texture. Again, if you crank that all the way up, all the way down, it's a little too much. Do the same with clarity. You can really see how that changes your image. Let's hit that Y button. Just look at, you can see what we've revealed in the water right here. It's no longer just a dark mess. You've got some good exposure now in these rocks, and you can see back here on the other side of the water a little bit better as well. So I like that. I think that's looking good so far. Okay, now next section, we're going to come directly into the tone curve, and I really just work down. If there's any adjustments that need to be made, we can figure it out along the way. I don't like to jump around the tabs too much outside of how I've developed my own CCF method. There's going to be certain things that I'm going to hit first, but then otherwise we're just going to go down through all these sliders, through all these tools, and utilize it that method. So again, I'm going to go back into the parametric curve here. I always start there. We're going to make adjustments on everything, and I generally stick with a basic S-curve. We don't have to, though. It's good to experiment, but the general S-curve, I think, seems to have the most consistent impact on your image. Here, though, we're going to do a reverse S-curve on that. Alright, now we get into the RGB spectrum of the curve. And this is where it will have a huge impact. If you're not delicate with these sliders, you're going to have a really wonky image. But it's all about balance. Everything in moderation, it will balance itself out. So look at that. That looks good. We've brought out a lot of detail in this portion of the water right here. And I think we're getting this motion blur with the water. I think it's cleaned up a little bit. You can definitely see more details, like right here. And the proof's in the pudding. Who would have known that that's actually a rock right there? You can see that we're losing detail in the original right there. It's removed. So far I'm liking that. And this is a tab that I just said that we like to go in order. But we're gonna skip past the HSL tab. All right. So again, with any of these sliders, see what you like. You can see in the histogram when this is the mid-tone slider. You can see in the histogram, we go all the way to the left. We're losing a lot of data again. All the way to the right, you're stretching out that histogram a little. But I don't think that you work well at the extremes. So these mid-tones at basically plus 100, we're going to tone that down just a little bit. Everything in moderation. Shadows, we don't want to bump it down. See, we're going to lose data if we do that. Slight increases. Highlights, you can see if we crank it up, we lose data. If we bring it all the way down, it will darken up the image just slightly. It's looking pretty good. I like to add a little bit of blending in there, see how that's impacting it. Just crank it up. Balance, you can see. Alright, so this is what we're looking at right now. Okay. Now we're going to move into the calibration tab, which in my opinion is still not properly utilized by most people, and that doesn't mean I'm successfully skilled at it, still developing that skill set. But I think compared to a lot of work that I see on the internet, I think I do a good job of using it sparingly, using it to enhance the work, not make it artificial. Again, if you're using some of these, you have to be aware of the impact that it's having across the image. You can't be adjusting something and then forget that it changed the sky and now it's purple. I don't like that. So you see again how that changes the image. And it's not just changing blues, it's based on your sensor. So one thing that people don't realize about the calibration tool, Nikon's blue is different than Sony's blue, which is different than Canon's blue. And how it relates to the image on the sensor. So you get the RGB spectrum. All these companies, their color spectrum is going to be a little different. So you can use this tool to adjust those parts of the color spectrum on the sensors. So you can get a more precise blue to your liking. But when you just go hog wild and just start adjusting these sliders like crazy, it changes your image a lot. So it's not necessarily related to there's green on the image, it's only going to change the green. There's a little bit more science behind that. Look at how that red just pops in there. It's just adjusting the saturation on there. So now let's go in, use Y. Wow. Completely different image. Just go hit the HSL tab real quick. So you can see that green, how much that changes. I think the green is a little distracting. So I'm just going to tone that down just a little. That's it. I'm not even going to mess with anything else in the HSL tab because there are no natural reds in here, no natural oranges, blue and aqua. You can see I'll probably change the water. See right there. Lastly, what we can do, the contrast of this image. just increase it just a little bit. But I like that. I think that's real good. Everything's popping. Again, we really recovered a lot of data in this area of the image, these rocks right here in the foreground, and even in the background. Some of these shadows, you can see some tree formations and shapes and leaves that are not as easily seen in this image, and we really saved a lot of the detail here, and I think brought out a little bit more detail. You can see along the shore, the bank right here. Alright, so that's good. I think it's a quality image. I like the end result, and I think it's ready for posting. So on that note, we can go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to be posting this video today, and I think making an announcement. I'm trying to get some visibility on the channel and see what we can do. If this is something that you watched and you like, drop a comment. I guess I'm supposed to tell you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. It will help me in the algorithm. But I'm not going to ask you to hit the notification bell. I was just talking with Amanda about that. That's probably the worst decision that you could make, is hitting one of these YouTube notification bells. You're going to be getting alerts all day. But if you did like the content and did watch, thank you very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave me some comments. Give me some constructive criticism on how I could make these videos better. And again, thank you for your time. We'll see you soon. Have a great day.